Hi all, I'm Dan Smigrod, founder of the We Get Around Network Forum. Today is Thursday, February 1, 2018, and you're watching WGAN-TV live at 5. Our guest today is Mick. Hey Mick.
Hey guys, how are you?
And
Hey Dan.
Mick, super excited. Mick is the founder of 360rumors.com, and
That's right.
he is all things 360. While our topic today is all things 360 from the 2018 Consumer Electronics Show, the CES show. I just think I should kind of just give a little bit of an intro here for you,
Sure,
Mick.
sure.
Because I think you're up to almost 2,000 posts on
Almost. Getting
on your
there.
blog,
Yes.
360rumors.com.
.com. Yes.
And I lost track of the number of videos that you've done that are 360
It,
related.
it's like 300 something. Yeah,
300,
yes, like like maybe like almost 400. Yeah,
400
there's
videos.
almost,
And
almost, yeah.
I think if I've counted right, you have something like you've either have or had 36 360-degree cameras of one sort or another.
Well, right now it's gonna be like 41, but
41. Oh, you just
going
got.
to be. It's currently 40. I'm on my way to get the 41st one.
Oh, I think we have to cancel the show and wait till you get to
Yeah.
50 or something.
Yeah. All right.
Yeah, so I think we're talking to the right person today, because if there's someone who's like totally obsessed with all things 360, I think I just want to share your YouTube channel, just to take a second to
Sure.
do that,
Please.
so we can see that. So this is Mick's YouTube channel, and these are each videos, and he's done videos. I would say on virtually every 360 camera, and then you do 360, and you do these videos that compare
Mm-hmm.
different 360 cameras, and then you
Mm-hmm.
talk about Google Street View and talk about how to edit. So I'm just so excited to be on the program with you today, because you're like my
I'm honored.
go-to. People ask me in the forum questions. They think I'm smart. No, I'm going off and finding mixed
So
video. I'm
we're
sure
we're all learning from each other.
we're all learning.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. So
Yeah.
let me take us off screen share. So
Uh-huh.
our topic, today is 360 cameras from CES.
That's right.
What'd you see? What'd you love? What'd you like? Tell us
Uh-huh.
everything. Don't
Yeah, this
stop. Go.
All right, yeah. So just stop me if I talk too long. But yeah, so when in 2017 we saw a lot of 360 cameras, really amazing ones. So I thought like by the end of 2017 it would be just the party's over. That was it. But then before CES 2018, I started getting press releases, embargoed press releases. I said, oh, it's going to be big. So when I actually went to CES 2018, I was surprised because it was actually even bigger than I expected.
Wow.
And it's really, yeah, it's really exciting because in 2017, the focus was kind of like, it was like an arms race and everyone was trying to leapfrog each other in terms of specs. Like, I've got 4K, oh yeah, I got 5.7K and 8K and so on and so forth. But in 2018, CAS 2018, the emphasis seemed to be less on like outspecking each other. It's more like trying to figure out better ways to use 360. And I think that's the ideal direction because I mean, you and me, we're more experienced 360 shooters. We kind of know how to use it. But for the average consumer, although they are aware of 360 cameras, they don't really know for sure how to use them. And so I saw a lot of 360 cameras with new features that kind of spell it out for not just for consumers but also professionals to try to explain to them and show them how 360 can be used. So, for example, the Insta360 Nano S is one of those new cameras launched at CES 2018, and it has these.
Forgive me, I missed the
Yeah,
camera.
sure.
The Insta 360,
Nano S,
the Nano
S, S,
S.
like S like Sierra.
Did I miss something? Insta360 introduced. How much is this camera? Is this the
Oh,
$12,000?
oh no, no. That we'll talk about that one later.
Okay.
But the Nano S is around $240, and it's the second version of the Nano. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
actually the second version of the Nano. And
Okay.
what's
And
cool about it?
I just want to just kind of interject here because it can get
Sure,
extremely confusing because I think Insta 360 has come from almost nowhere in the last 2 years, certainly not on my radar.
that's right.
And in the
Right,
last
right.
years, they've introduced the Insta
I know.
360 Air, about
Yes,
$130, the Insta
yes,
360 Nano for the Air being for an Android, the Insta
yes,
360 Nano for
yes,
iPhone. Now they apparently have come out with another version, the
yeah,
Insta360 ONE, the
yeah,
Insta360 Pro,
yes.
and I've
Now another one,
and
Nano.
now
I
another one.
know. Yeah, I was like, that's why I was, like we already had 4 cameras from them in 2017. That's why I was thinking, oh, that's it. They're gonna be like done for at least a few months. But suddenly, like here, by the way, they're gonna be introducing a new camera. Like, what? Really? I was so surprised.
Well,
But
tell
it's
us about
really,
this new Insta360 Nano S.
yes. So first of all, it definitely improves on the specs of the old Nano. But the main thing that's different about it is that it has new features to make it easier for consumers to use. So one of them is called multi-view, and what this does is it kind of like divides the screen into 2 or 3 parts so that a user can show 2 or 3 different points of view at the same time without using a 360. So even if someone doesn't want or doesn't know how to use 360, doesn't they're kind of like afraid to edit it. This one will show it as 16 by 9 screen, but we'll just cut it up into different types of video collages, and then you can control the view for each one. And so it kind of makes it easy for anyone to use 360 and to use 360 to show multiple points of view at the same time. And another cool feature it has is 360 video calling. So like we're having this video call right now. It can do the same thing, but in 360, so that the viewer can see like a 360 view. So
So
the
let's translate that a little bit for our audience, WGAN,
sure,
We Get Around Network Forum,
yes,
mostly Matterport photographers, Google
yes,
Street View photographers,
mm-hmm,
those that are thinking about maybe buying Matterport and looking at some other alternatives. But for the most part, shooting residential real estate first and commercial real estate second. So I think
yes,
what I hear when you talk about what would that be? That would be like FaceTime for 360 or something.
kind of like that. Yes, yes,
That all of a sudden that enables maybe a real estate agent to walk through the house, not just
yes,
saying, "Well, can you show me? Oh, I can't see. Can you show?" No, now you just walk through the
yes,
house, and their potential buyer can
yeah,
see everything. So that
yeah.
sounds like
That's
actually a cool feature for real estate. So,
yeah.
and
I
in
didn't
fact, I
even
want to
think
ask,
about that. That's
yeah,
perfect. Yeah,
I'll put George on the spot because he's actually a real estate agent. We'll bring him back to the
sure.
to from our virtual studio audience and actually ask George that
Uh-huh.
question. George, does that feature interest you at all? 360 live stream as a real estate agent?
Um, Live, especially not.
Okay.
And one of the reasons is you don't know what you're going to go see. In all the resolutions of the 360s that I've seen, especially when they're broadcast live, they get very poor in quality. So
Mm-hmm.
what I would prefer to do would be just use a conventional camera, convert it over into short videos and go with that.
Well,
Or
let me ask the question a little bit differently. Let's
Mm-hmm.
assume that because Insta360 actually does amazing stuff. So I just imagine that if they've come out with the quality is going to be exceptional. So let's assume the quality is exceptional. And then second, let's assume you've already been to the property and you think that property is ideal, but it's a relocation client. They're out of town and you want to help pre-tour that house. Have we changed your mind?
no.
Okay, we're moving you.
Okay.
We're moving you back to the side. George. I love
Yeah.
that. I could press a button. He just disappeared. Thank you, George. Stand by. We'll bring you back into the discussion. So, was there
Yeah.
other features on that Insta360 Nano S that resonated with you?
Yeah, there's also this. They also used free capture, which is also a feature that's also in Insta 361. And again, what this does is when you record the 360 video, instead of showing the whole thing, the whole 360 video, you're showing only parts of the time. And so the benefit of that is you could quote shoot first and then point later. So, like for example, when you're going through a house and you have a 360 camera with you, you're recording everything in 360 video. But then later on, when you get back to the office, then you can, select the best angles and pan the camera smoothly, change the perspective from telephoto to like a wide angle.
Yeah,
You can do all
I
that,
brought
right?
George back because he loves post production. He is so prolific in
Okay.
post. George, has that
Mm.
changed your mind that you could shoot in 360 but actually export it as a 2D video that you're used to, but not have to make that decision in the field?
Well, one of the reasons I said no, they're only going to be able to see from the perspective of their device, which is really only is not going to be more than say, maybe 120 degrees. So I don't really need the other direction. I don't
Uh-huh.
need what's behind me. Is a post-production issue. I utilize Premiere Pro.
Mm-hmm.
Everything that has to be done to the video to get it to that point is something that requires a professional to do.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
And most real estate agents don't have the money or the skill to do that. I'm
I'm
such a
Mm-hmm.
assuming I'm
novice.
assuming it's you. You
Yeah,
are.
but for me, I'm not. It's just too much work for me.
I got it.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
And
All right.
here's the
We're moving him to the sidelines. Let's move on to the next thing.
I was gonna say the cool thing about it is you don't need to know anything. You can do this all within the app. So for example, when I have a smartphone, let's say if I'm shooting a 360 video, if I want to shoot a different view, you know what I do? I do this. If I want to shoot that view, I do that. Anyone can do that. So if you're thinking of like post production and the pain of post production, I get it. I really do.
Yeah.
But if you can do it that way, like so intuitively, then anyone can do it.
Smart
And
tracking. Is that what you would call smart
no,
tracking?
no, it's called free capture. Free capture.
Free capture. So there's actually
That's
two different
right.
terms here. You want to define them both because
Mm-hmm.
I think as we go through these different cameras, they're going to pop up.
Yes. So free capture gets a 360 video, but instead of showing it as a 360 video, you're showing only parts of it at a time. So it's kind of like you have a virtual camera. It's as if you went back to that space, and then you had your smartphone with you, and you're shooting with it, but you're doing this after the fact.
Okay, that's
And
in
you can
post
do it as
production.
many times. Yes, you can do it as many times as you want.
Free capture,
Right.
use it in post production. Maybe works if
Yeah.
you put it on top of your head on a roller coaster and you decide that that's the piece that I want to show now. That's the piece I
Sure.
want to show now. Maybe
Sure.
in static real estate, not a feature
Sure.
that's going to win over our community.
Right.
Got another camera for me? You got excited
Sure.
about?
Yeah.
It's
So
yes.
the other cool thing is the Google VR 180. So the Google VR 180 was announced in 2017, but they kept saying, it'll be like, winter. They didn't say exactly when. And finally at CES 2018, they announced two cameras. One of them is the Lenovo Mirage, and the other one is the Yi Horizon. So these are Google VR 180. And what Google VR 180 is it's a two formats in one. When you look at it on, let's say, YouTube without a VR headset, you're just looking at it. It looks like a 4K video. Now, when you tap the Google cardboard icon and you put on a cardboard headset, it looks like a 3D hemispherical video. So that does several things. Number one, it kind of makes it easy for people to see immediately the benefit of VR. Something flat doesn't move, totally static, versus something where you can look around and it's in 3D. Not only that, but for a content maker, content producer point of view, it's so much easier to compose for it. You don't have to, with a 360 camera, you're kind of like conscious about being caught in the shot,
Hmm.
or like, what if you have lighting and you don't want the lighting equipment to be shown? With a VR 180 camera, it's hemispherical, so you can, yeah.
I'm not excited. I think,
Okay.
a lot of us who are Matterport
Uh-huh.
photographers are on the edge of our seat
Uh-huh.
because we're right at the phase where Matterport is enabling
Mm-hmm.
Matterport to Google Street View publishing
Mm-hmm.
in beta at the moment. And that means, if it only takes 50 360s to be a Google Street View trusted photographer,
Mm-hmm.
in publishing one location that's not a house, we're all going to
Uh-huh.
be, so we're going to have thousands of new trusted photographers. So we're all thinking in terms of 360, and we're thinking,
Yes.
oh, okay, I want to publish a virtual
Uh-huh.
tour. I want to publish to Google Street View. The 180 doesn't sound like it's going to help get me there.
Okay, what I think the opportunity lies in is that by introducing the public to VR, it makes people more interested. You know what? I want to see that house in VR, not just like swiping it on a screen. And of course, since with Matterport, you have the Matterport app on Gear VR, you have it on, I believe there's an Oculus version, right?
Uh,
So,
not presently, but
okay.
on
I'm
Google
pretty sure
Cardboard.
yeah,
Yeah.
okay, there's cardboard, but I think there's also a Gear VR version.
And Gear VR.
Um,
Yep.
yeah, and there's a Steam
Ah,
version, right?
Oculus
Steam,
Gear VR. Yep.
yeah,
Or Gear
and
V
there's a,
Samsung Gear VR powered by Oculus. So I always think
yeah,
about
but
it as
there's
the
also a
Samsung.
Steam app for it, right? And where you can, I'm like almost sure there is, 99% sure there's a Steam version of
I'll
it.
ask our virtual studio audience if
Sure,
they've heard of something like that. I've
sure.
just, as far as I know, you can
Mm-hmm.
do the web
Yes,
VR version, but I
yes,
haven't heard of any other devices
yes.
with actually one
Yes,
there.
there's a Steam. It's either on Steam or on Oculus Rift. But in either case, there's a Matterport app there, and because Matterport is, it's immersive. It lets people, if they have that headset, it lets people see the benefit of a Matterport captured house, as opposed to just traditional real estate photography.
Yes. Well, that kind of
So,
introduced depth, capturing depth data, and I think there was a camera at
mhm,
CES you were super excited
yes,
about.
yes.
Can you tell
Yes,
us about
so
that?
sure. So depth mapping and 6DOF were other couple other major themes at CES. First of all, we saw several headsets that were standalone with positional tracking, so 6DOF, and
You got to define that for us.
sorry, 6 degrees of freedom, meaning it's kind of like a vibe or riff that you can not just look around, but you can also go forward, backward, vertically, horizontally. It's kind of like a vibe, but
Hmm.
it's standalone. It's not connected to
Would
a,
you
a
consider
PC.
Matterport to be like that? Because when we look at it in a VR experience, we go from scan to scan, and there's kind of the depth data is simulating what we fool the eye to think. Well, I shouldn't say that. It was kind of on
The, well,
the original Matterport version of VR, but on
yes.
core VR, it kind of fades to black. So it's not quite.
Well, it depends on which app you use. If
Yeah.
you use Google Cardboard to view the to Matterport, then you won't see any benefits from moving up and down or
Yeah.
forward backward. But if you use the Matterport app on Steam or Oculus, I don't remember which one, you
Hmm.
can actually move within a small area and teleport to another area and then move a little bit on that small area. The point is that with these headsets, you don't need, let's say if you're trying to show it to a client, you don't need to set up an HTC Vive with these satellites, and you can just have a headset with you, bring it with you. You don't even need to bring a laptop. You can just show the headset, the file's already in there, show it to the client anywhere, They don't have to be at
Mhm.
an office or anything. It could be anywhere. Just show it to them, and they'll see immediately what
Yeah.
exactly what you're trying to
All
show
right.
them.
So 6 degrees of freedom,
Mm-hmm.
6D
6D,
of
yeah,
F.
yes.
Did you see any cameras that didn't cost $1 million that captured depth data
Yes, yes,
that you're excited about?
yes. Well, there's several. The one that probably costs $1 million is the Insta360 light field camera. So we're not going to talk about that. It's beyond our reach. Now there were others that are
Beyond our reach because it's a $12,000 camera. Is that
no, the light field camera has like 128 small cameras.
the
And
wall of cameras?
that's right, that's right.
Okay. All
So
right. Yeah.
that one is not even
We'll
we're not talking
fantasize
about
about that, but we won't talk about
it.
that one on this
Yeah,
show.
so the one that's specifically targeted toward real estate is D2 Max. D2, let me type it. D2 Max. That one. So
I haven't
D2
heard of
Max,
it. Let me see if I can pronounce it. D2, that's Danny Edward Tom Unger,
yeah,
D2 space Max,
that's
MAX.
right. Yes.
News to me. So what is a D2 Max? And this is something you
So
saw at the 2018
yes,
Consumer Electronics Show.
that's right. So this is a camera with 8 lenses. It's configured at two lenses per uh, cardinal direction, and it can shoot at 8K 3D. So that's not a big deal because there are other cameras that can do that. But what makes this one different is that it has an AI chip embedded in it. And what they're trying to do with it, there are several things they're trying to do with it besides 6DOF, is that they're planning to create a software that can capture a space and convert it into a 3D model. And then you'll be able to, you know, move it around and look at it from different points of view. And if you're an interior designer, let's say, or you wanted to envision the space in a different way, that will allow you to place virtual furniture and see how they look. So that's
Cool. How
yeah.
much? How long?
So number one, the price it's not definite yet, but it's gonna be around $4,000. Yeah. Well, Matterport is around that much, right? Um, so, so as for time frame, I believe it's spring of 2018, and that's they're going to start with a Kickstarter or Indiegogo, something like that, and then they're
Okay.
going
So
to ship out 2 months later.
you see something else that was in the 6D of F that was less than $4,000?
Glad you asked because Giroptic, which is a 360 camera company, they developed this software that enables you to use the current camera that they have and shoot, several photos with it, and then they'll convert it to a uh, 6DOF space, a 6DOF space that you can walk around, not just look around like that, but actually literally walk around in VR. And the Giroptic IO is only, maybe $200 or something like that, 200 or 250.
So that's
And
with the existing one that attaches to an iPhone or an Android
that's
phone.
right,
It's a little teeny square thing,
exactly,
and,
exactly.
and
So,
so what they did was a software. Is this a
yes,
firmware or is this actually something of how it gets processed?
it's going to be processed. So it's going to be processed in the cloud. And right now they haven't started it. They're currently inviting beta testers for it.
Hmm.
And truthfully, the image quality isn't super fantastic. It's very, kind of simplistic. But the key thing here is that it lets the viewer get a better sense of the space. So kind of like, where is the living room in relationship to the kitchen? How does the space flow? Does this work? Like the scale, everything. It, it's not so much like trying to beat DSLRs for detail, like
Hmm.
hey, we're gonna give better. No, it's not about detail. It's about
Hmm.
the bigger picture. Letting the client understand, like, oh, hey, this is how the space looks like. It's how see how free flowing it is, and like there's, let's say it's an open area, and you kind of feel that much more intuitively than with just a photo.
The difference of 360 versus this 6 degrees of freedom.
So with 360, you're kind of like stuck in one spot,
Yep.
and with 360 2D, it's even more removed from reality because everything looks like a wallpaper wrapped in a sphere.
Hmm.
But with 6 degrees of freedom, number one, it's 3D. Number two, you can actually walk around the space.
Hmm.
You can crouch, you can jump, you can do anything.
Okay,
So that
cool. So
that
that's
that's fixed up. Yeah.
so in beta from Gyroptic, GIROPTIC, using their IO, Gyroptic IO,
Yeah.
which is available for sale today, a couple $100, might be less
Yeah.
than that.
Yeah.
And it presently in beta, the 6 degrees of freedom. I want
Yeah.
to keep asking this question because I keep getting a new camera. Did you see
Yeah.
any other cameras
Yeah.
that did
Yes.
this
Six,
6
six
step?
DOF. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. So another new one is called Pi Soft Tech Pilot Era. Let me write it down because
Okay,
it's
thank
a
you.
mouthful.
Okay, and George, I know he's been writing me a note. I promise we get to the new GoPro. We'll get there. But George, have some patience.
Okay.
Oh, so
Pi.
Mick, this really helped. This is
Yes.
it's
I know.
it's the pilot error.
Yeah.
This is like, oh my God, how could they name this camera for me to pronounce it as an error, ERROR, but it's
Yeah.
actually ERA.
Yeah.
So I can't even pronounce the name of the company. Let's see, PiSoft Tech,
Right. T.
PiSoftTech, PiSoft Tech
Tech
Pilot
Pilot Era.
Era.
Yeah.
Okay, so
So,
tell
all
us
right.
about this camera and why you were excited.
So this is a camera that, first of all, it's pro grade, but it's really tiny. It's like about the size of like one of those energy drinks. It's like a monster. It's like this big. It's so small, but yeah, kind of like a little bit taller maybe, and it captures 8K 360 videos, 50 megapixel photos. So that's pretty high res. And the key thing about this is that PySoft Tech specializes in software, and they've found a way to convert 2D 360 and get depth mapping information from it. So thus far, everything I've seen from with depth mapping, like Canada Obsidian, Google Jump, Halo, all those cameras and camera rigs use 3D lenses. They have stereoscopic lenses, and that's how they get the depth map. This one is different. It uses AI. It
Hmm.
uses, yeah. So it just looks at the video and uses AI to understand what's at different depths, and they can. I've seen it. It's amazing. They can detect the depth even if it's just a single lens
Did you
or
shoot
on each side.
Did you shoot some video at CES in the booth on
Yes,
this PySoft
yes. I just
Tech?
haven't edited it.
Okay,
I just
I
haven't
was afraid I
edited.
hadn't,
Yeah.
I do my best. I subscribe to the 360rumors.com YouTube channel. I do my
Yeah.
best to watch your videos. I think if our audience today, the We Get Around Network Forum community, stopped today and said, okay, I'm going to go watch every video that you've ever done, maybe it'll be next year. You've been so prolific, so I just figured, oh, I must have missed one of your reports.
I'll try to put it out in the next couple of weeks. So it's just I'm getting like so much pressure to like review this, review that, and like oh gosh. So,
Okay.
but I did write an article about the pilot era. You could check it out.
Okay.
It's not a
So
video, but it's an article.
how much and when is it out?
So this one is $3,000.
Ah,
Yes, and I guess this one's also targeted for spring,
spring
2018,
2000,
and they said
2018.
that I should in April, around April, I should have like a test unit. I should have a beta test unit,
Yes.
so I'll be able to demonstrate some of those features.
Okay, I think we just lost half our audience because they're really looking at this say, oh, I got Matterport. You know, is there something that's like available today and costs a
Hmm.
lot? You know, or I'm thinking about buying a Matterport camera. Is that the right
Yes.
choice for me? If it's not the
Yeah.
right choice, what are my
Hmm.
alternatives? And
Hmm.
maybe something in the $3,000 range I'm not getting so excited about, and it's not shipping yet. So let's move on to another
Hmm.
camera. Uh,
Okay.
was there
Sure.
anything under $500 that gave you
Under 500.
si-
Mm,
the
yeah.
Kando Coolcom?
The QCam. See, the QCam, Pandal QCam is definitely under $500. They
All
don't
right,
say
let's
exactly how
let's
much
spell
it.
that for people because I know this is like
Yeah. Sure.
impossible. I can't even pronounce it. Kando,
Yeah. Can.
Kandao, Kando, and I'm going to do my best at QOOCAM.
Right.
Coolcom?
Q. They pronounce it QCam. Yeah. It's kind of
Cool,
like
cool.
a
I'm not hip.
bizarre.
I'm just not that hip. Okay, it's the Kando Cool Cam
Cool
spelled with
cam.
with a Q.
Cool cam. There's no L.
There's
It's
no
just
L.
cool. It's
Cool.
a
Cam.
bizarre name.
It's it's Cam. I'm going to tell the
Yeah.
Cam people they should talk to the pilot error camera and maybe, but
Yeah.
the two of them can team up and get a branding company to work on the naming. Oy.
Yeah.
Okay, so you saw this camera.
Yes.
Tell us about it. I think you were particularly excited about this and filed
Yeah.
a report on
I
360
yeah,
rumors.
I
Yeah.
was very excited because this is a camera with three lenses and it converts from a 360 camera using a regular two lens 360 camera to a 3D 180 camera. And the 180, the 3D 180 capability, they're using it not just for 3D 180 like Google VR, but also for depth mapping. And with depth mapping, again, they can do a lot of tricks with it, including 6 DoF, and also they can change the background, they can change the focus after the fact. So it has those really interesting capabilities.
And in your
Yeah.
report,
Hmm.
I think they asked you how much you wanted to know how much and when, and
Yeah.
they wanted to know how much you were willing to pay for it. And I think you gave them a nice lowball answer. It surprised me because they came back and said, "Yeah, we think we need to be under 300,
Right.
maybe even 50, and maybe 350 tops because they
Yeah.
already know all the major players or
It's
that
right.
have come out with cameras are already dropping the price. So
Hmm.
I think
Right.
what you observed in your report, depth data mapping, 4K, 3D.
Yeah.
You can change a background. That sounded pretty interesting and cool. First coming out
Yeah.
for Android
Right.
and live streaming. But
Yeah.
I think what I was surprised about was this whole idea. It sounded like there was a Sony device built into this camera that did
Sony
the
sensor.
depth
Right.
a depth sensor. So this was a mashup of a depth sensor and four lenses.
Well, this one is three lenses and it doesn't have a depth sensor per se. It just has just a high quality video sensor by Sony. And it uses again AI to figure out how the depth based on the you know the difference between the left image and the right image. And where this might be useful for real estate is um, let's say you capture a space using this and the client wears a VR headset or even a regular, 3D glasses, they'll be able to see the space in 3D.
Hmm.
So it it just adds another layer of experience for clients. It's different from 360. It's this one is 3D 180, but it's 3D.
Hmm.
Yeah.
And it's at an interesting price point. Not
Yes.
out yet. We
Very.
won't spend too much more time on it. Some things make it to market. Some things don't.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think was it the Views Plus? Did you get a chance to
Yes.
uh, uh,
Yeah.
so this is from
This
a
is
company called
humanized.
Human Eyes out of
Yeah.
Israel. I got to
Yes.
see the Views the first generation
Yes.
at the 2017 Google Street View Summit, May
Yes.
2017, and
Yes.
I thought that was pretty impressive. So
Uh-huh. So
stereoscopic, I believe.
yes.
And so
Yes.
now they've come out with, and that was maybe in the what, $700 or $800?
Yeah, it's $800. That's right. The Views Plus is very similar to the Views, except that it has live streaming capability. So this one is, I think, around 1200 or 1300. I don't remember.
Hmm.
And then it has like a slightly better lens and um, yeah, like a few other changes, like the buttons make it easier for you to see if they're on or off. But the main thing for Views users is that they upgraded the software to make it easier for you to control the exposure. So previously, when the Views first came out, you couldn't control the exposure. Everything was automatic. You can't, not even exposure compensation. And not only that, but the contrast level was very high. So if you were in an environment with high, a very contrasty light condition, then the shadows will look really deep and it's kind of hard to see. But with this one, you can control not just the exposure, but it also has these adjustments for highlights and shadows. Overall, just makes it a lot easier to use the camera.
Hmm. And I want to say this one's stereoscopic.
Yes, that's right. It's a 3D 360 4K. But another change is that they've added a real photo mode because originally it was just doing a frame grab from a video, but now they've added a true photo mode. You can even control the exposure, ISO, shutter speed. You have control of that, and yeah, it's just overall huge improvement for views. Makes it a lot easier to use.
Hmm. I didn't hear a shipping date. Have they announced when?
Oh, it's already shipping, I believe.
Already shipping. Okay.
Yeah, I mean, it's already on their website. I think it's already shipping. Yeah. And yeah, it's like, and you can also, if you like the live streaming capability, but you already have the views, you can just pay, I think, $200 or something, and they'll do some kind of firmware upgrade that gives you live streaming. And the reason they can't just do that for everyone is
Yeah.
because they had to third party company do the live streaming software, so they have to pay a license fee. So
Hmm.
that's why they can't just give
Okay.
it to everyone.
All right. That's Humanize Views, VUZE, and we've been
That's
talking about
right.
the Views. The first generation came out now at CES
Hmm.
2018, talking about the Views Plus.
Right. Yes.
Relo,
Rilo. Yes.
Rilo.
So yes. So Rilo is it's a very good 360 camera for action videos. Excellent stabilization, the best I've seen for 360 cameras. I guess when it first came out, I think October or November, don't remember. I At that time I would not have recommended it for real estate photography just because its controls were super limited, and the most critical part was that you couldn't. There was no way to trigger it remotely. Like you press the shutter, there was no sound timer. Within like 2 seconds, it's gonna take a shot. So you're definitely gonna
Yeah.
be in there.
I was
Yeah,
pretty
but
surprised
yeah,
because this is supposed to be from former employees of Apple
and
and
Instagram,
Google,
Instagram, Instagram.
Apple and Instagram.
Yes,
And when you look at the packaging and you look at the marketing
yes,
for this camera, I was
yes.
going, gee, I got this Insta 360 and it seems like it's an amazing camera. But
Hmm.
at $300, and I disclosure, they sent it to me at no charge. But I
Uh-huh.
got the camera, and I'm going, oh, but this Rilo thing looks so pretty, and the marketing looks so slick, and it's five hundred
Yeah.
dollars. What must be better?
Uh-huh.
And
That's
I
a
must say,
that's
I watched
stabilization.
your I think it was a
Hmm.
half-hour long in-depth comparison of
Uh-huh.
Rilo and the Insta 360
One.
one, and I think your
Yes.
takeaway for our audience. Why don't you
Yeah.
tell us your takeaway? I'm a real estate photographer.
Yes.
I just care about 360 photos,
Yes.
uh, and I'm not sure that maybe I'd find the video interesting, but if I had to
Yes.
choose between a $500 or a $300, is the $500 one as a real estate photographer worth the extra money?
And in my case, I would say no. And it's not so much that the Rilo is a bad camera. It's actually great, like I said, for 360 action videos. The problem with Rilo is the controls are super limited. You can't control anything. Right now, you can't control exposure compensation, ISO, shutter speed, none of that. Doesn't have self-timer, doesn't have a way to trigger it remotely. Now, the good thing is that at CES, the co-founder told me that they're adding a firmware upgrade that will enable a Bluetooth capability, because I didn't know that it actually had Bluetooth in it. They didn't advertise that. But when that happens, then at least you'll be able to trigger it remotely. But they weren't promising that it would have manual exposure. So, like, if you had to buy a 360 camera right now for real estate, I wouldn't say like, hey, get that one. But if you want to go, snowboarding, that's a good one. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So if I'm out snowboarding and motorbiking and jumping out of
Right.
helicopters, that sounds like what Dan would do. Then I might consider getting the Rilo. But really,
I
as
want to see your video.
yeah, yeah. Well, I think we should say to our viewers here, if you've been thinking about getting the Rilo or the Insta360
Yeah.
One, yeah, Mick has done an excellent side-by-side comparison. He tells you what the pluses are for the Rilo camera. He tells you what the pluses are for an Insta360 One, and certainly my takeaway through my lens of
Uh-huh.
for mostly for the We Get Around Network forum community,
Uh-huh.
Insta360 One, by far. And if you were a professional photographer, probably more so because you could control the f-stop, shutter speed, ISO, and then it had all kinds of other things. And
Yes. Yeah, it had like
Nick,
a
you've been using 360 cameras, I think, from 2005
or well, more like 2015.
to
But
2015.
yeah, I've been a photographer since 2007, but
Yeah,
not a 360 photographer until 2015.
but you've been at this a long time, and so you've had a
Yes.
chance to see what the different interfaces look like.
Uh-huh.
And I've been through a number of 360 cameras myself, and
Yes.
I just kind of felt like Insta360 One was kind of in a category of its own. It just works. It's
Yeah.
you want a live stream, you hit
Yeah.
the button. You want video, you hit the button.
Yeah. It works so smoothly, and that's why I like it. I mean, there are other similar 360 cameras in terms of just the actual image quality. There are several that are very similar.
Uh
But
huh.
what I think makes Insta360 One stand out is the software and the usability. Like you said, it has all these features for. I mean, like for example, raw capability. No, the Insta360 One can shoot in Adobe DNG RAW. Not only that, but can actually stitch them in Adobe DNG RAW. You don't have to convert them to JPEG first or do anything like that. I mean,
Yeah,
the
and it's not in a proprietary format.
that's right. Yes,
In fact, I
Adobe
want to come back
DNG.
and talk to you about Insta360 One, but I want to move on. I don't want
Sure.
to lose George. George is asking about the new GoPro
Sure.
360.
GoPro
What
Fusion.
can you
Sure.
tell us that you saw at
Okay. The
CES?
the few if I'm assuming George is talking about the GoPro Fusion. So the GoPro Fusion, I love it. It came out late October, I think, or November, I don't remember. But I like it because it got excellent resolution, but more importantly for me, it's the excellent dynamic range. So this is the camera where, I was just testing it and then I would say, hey, that shot looks pretty good for dynamic range. Let's take it up a notch. Let's do like more extreme lighting situations where I'm, way deep in the shadows and then the sun is like, you know, sunny 16, fully like, really super sunny outside. Let's see how it does. And when I take the shot, it's somehow able to capture both. I was just like, wow, that's what I found the most amazing about the GoPro Fusion. Now, as a photography, as a camera for real estate photography, there's pluses and minuses. On the plus side, we have, like I said, dynamic range. It's only 5760 by 2880, not super high. Secondly, the exposure controls are kind of limited. You have the ISO that you can control, and hang on. You can control the ISO, and that's basically it. I mean, yeah, I mean, since the aperture is fixed, then you can indirectly control the shutter speed, but it's not like actual of the shutter speed or the ISO per se.
Well, let's ask George to join the conversation.
Yeah.
George, you wanted to know about this camera. What kind of questions you got for Mick? He's used it, he's seen it, he's
What I really liked about it is it appeared as though you could take a 360 view and then go to one fragmented section, turn it into a 1080p, and pull it into a video. And
Yes.
with almost everything that I do, I want to give the viewer something unusual to see. If they don't have an odd camera angle to keep them engaged, then it's just, you know, that's something that has always worked for me. I want that unusual camera angle and special engagement.
Yes. So that feature that you're referring to, overcapture, is something that GoPro deserves a lot of credit for making it popular and giving it a memorable name. Overcapture, everyone now has, gets an idea of what it is. That's also a feature that's actually is similar to free capture. They're almost identical. The free capture and the GoPro Fusion's overcapture, Insta361's free capture, Verb is doing something similar. I forgot what theirs is called, but a lot of companies are starting to get the same idea, like you said, that you want to show the client, you want to control the point of view, show them the best angle. This feature lets you do it, and you can do it from your phone. You don't need Premiere. You don't need to go to your PC to do that.
George, any follow up on the Fusion?
No, so many projects, so many things I got going. I would go buy one of the GoPros right now, but it's like everything else. Let's see where it goes for a while, maybe, in a year, because what I think is there's like a disconnect between real estate agents and photographers and the cost. And what we have to do is bring those issues together. If I were going to go start a new real estate company, instead of going and finding realtors that are already established, I'd go hire photographers.
Isn't that fascinating? All right, good topic for another day, George. We're going to have you come back, and we'll bang away at building a new brokerage that only has photographers. All right. So, Mick, what other cameras did you get a chance to see at CES? That
well, there are a few others, like the Kodak. Kodak has two new cameras. One is this AK 360 camera. Got three lenses, but it's like a small hockey puck sized camera.
Is this the one that folds?
Oh, that's the other one. Yeah. So they have two.
Well, let's stay on the first one. Is the first one where you buy two 180-degree cameras and put them in a case, or is it now one piece?
So one of their cameras is, like you said, a folding one. So it's got two lenses. When you fold them together, the two lenses act in unison as a 360 camera. Then you can also open it up, and the two cameras will then act like a 3D camera, stereoscopic, left and right, and it shoots it that way. Now, I don't know.
And why did I want to unfold it or fold it? Why am I doing origami with my camera?
When you unfold it, it provides a 3D 180 view. So if you want to show your real estate, the 3D, like in 3D, not just in 360, but in 3D, then this will let you do it.
Mm-hmm. Cool.
And then the other one is an 8K camera, 8K video. I don't know the photo resolution. They didn't tell me.
Yeah.
but
In fact,
hopefully pretty high.
I just want to share a screen here for a second. So,
Sure.
yep, here we are. So I'm on your website now. So, you know,
Yes.
when you all hear that, you know, Mick doesn't remember, you know, a statistic about a camera, I just want to let you know that he is a rock star in this space. And if you go to 360rumors.com, 360rumors.com, and at the very top, he has a 360 camera comparison. This will kind of give you, you know, some sense of his dedication. Some might call it an obsession. We'll call it dedication to um, understanding 360 cameras. So, Mick, why don't you help me? Why don't you describe what this comparison tool does? What did you
So
do and why?
what I was noticing was that it was very hard to figure out which is the best 360 camera. Every month there would be a new 360 camera, and it was like I was like getting hard for me to compare them. So I figured out that one way to do it would be to create a database that would show a bunch of 360 cameras on each side, and then you'd be able to compare them side by side. And all I have to do is just keep adding more and more cameras to that database, and that way, we'll continually be able to tell which 360 camera is best. So that's what this tool is about.
So this is such an amazing tool. I think you know, when I got my Matterport camera, July 2014, maybe there was one 360 camera that was out. That was the Ricoh Theta. There was no
Uh-huh.
S. There was just a Ricoh Theta first generation. Was excited to get it. Looking
Uh-huh.
back, we've come a long way since then. But I,
Yes.
I count at least, I think, 80 cameras. How many 360 cameras do you think there are today?
Um, well, it's probably, you're right. That's probably around 80, but maybe around half of those are like, really low end entry level 360 cameras from China that they're just like, it's just a cash grab basically. So not really serious. The ones that are serious, I would say, yeah, they're about, 40 or so.
And those are the
Um,
ones you have, or 41 or so, or
So yeah, basically all those ones that I thought were kind of serious, I got one. I, to be honest, I haven't put them all in the database yet. The database has like maybe 29 or so, but I'm waiting for the right conditions so I can shoot them in similar lighting conditions, and that way the results can be comparable.
yeah. So I think what I wanted to kind of just do here for just a second is to say, you know, hey, you're thinking about buying one of probably 40 cameras, and you want to compare the photo from the GoPro Fusion to the Insta361 to compared to the Rilo. You've actually done all the hard work and then made it so
Uh-huh.
that you could compare video side by side on video and side by side
Yes,
on photos. And so I
yes.
just want to give you like this huge shout out to say,
Thanks.
like, wow, is this a labor of love that put this guide together? I mean, not just
Yes,
captured the video and say, okay, here's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You've made it so you can do the side by side.
exactly. Because I trust the viewers to form their own opinion based on the photos and videos, the actual photos. Because it's one thing if I say, I think X is the best camera. Well, that might be true for me and the way I use my camera. But you might have different priorities. And so I thought the best way is, actually show everyone, hey, here are the actual photos and here are videos. And I tried to shoot them in similar lighting conditions, so that way you could do an A/B comparison, and based on objective data, like the actual photos and videos, not just, my opinion. I don't want you to just take my word for it. So I'm also going to, let you know my opinion, but I got these photos and videos so you can see, do you agree with me or not? or you might be able to come up with a different answer, and it's perfectly fine.
Yes. Well, I know my wife is, she's very understanding of me because we go check into a hotel. She knows that she's not going to come in for a half hour, an hour before I get to shoot the room with maybe at least one 360 camera, if not
Oh,
Matterport, and
that's
one or
cool.
two other 360. Why don't you tell me just a moment about, was it, I don't know what you call it, a bouncing gym, a bouncy?
Oh, you mean like a bounce house?
It sounds like you have a very understanding family because when you
Oh,
go to a kid's party that has an opportunity for the kids to jump up and down,
uh-huh.
dad's in
Yeah.
there too with two different with a Rilo and
Yeah.
an Insta
I know.
361 bouncing up and down in order to
Yeah.
compare the stabilization and over document the kid's
Yeah.
party.
That was my daughter's birthday, and it so happened that we did have a bounce house. So yeah, I thought, you know what, I do have to be present for my, I have to be there for my daughter. But hey, why not take a few minutes to take a few videos to test it out?
Yeah.
So, my apologies to my daughter. Yeah, yeah, I did that too.
She's probably grown up and used to it. Well, of course, dad's going to show up with two or three cameras and ask me to blow out the candles at least three times so that I get I get that
I
shot.
did do that.
All right,
I
so
did do that.
I saw this really cool guy wearing some kind of sunglasses at Las Vegas.
Oh, yes,
Do you know who
yes.
that was?
Yeah, well, I don't know who that was, but the at CES, I at C at CES they had this thing that's called the Orbi Prime. These are a pair of sunglasses that have a 360 camera. You know that are 360 camera. They
Okay,
have
excuse me.
four
You're talking
lenses.
about the Orbi
Yes,
Prime, Orbi
Orbi
Prime.
Prime. Yes,
And this is a different form factor, I think, than any of us have ever seen,
yes.
which is a pair of sunglasses.
That's right. Yeah. So it does several things. And number one, it's hands free. So you can shoot a 360 video, and you don't have to, don't have to hold the camera, and you could just shoot, and just do whatever you're doing. Now, the other thing about it is that it shoots it from a first-person perspective, which is extremely difficult to do for 360 photo or 360 video. So it provides a unique perspective. So those are what it brings to the table. And the Orbi Prime is the first device of that kind. But the interesting thing is that they also showed another device that was kind of like that, which is called the Link Flow. Let me type it. Link
Okay.
Flow Fit 360.
And I'll ask Scott, who's in our virtual studio audience, and Antoine if they want to join in here with some questions. Maybe they'll just text us
Sure,
back in our chat window.
sure.
And so the Link Flow, yeah, the Link Flow Fit 360,
Yes,
FITT 360, one word, Link
yes.
Flow Fit 360. Was that a different pair of eyeglasses or this is
Oh,
something else?
this is actually kind of like a necklace, but not exactly.
Ah, yeah, it
It's
went
in the
around the
shape of a
neck.
horseshoe. That's right. To
Yeah,
place it
yeah,
around your
yeah.
neck. And they showed a device like that in 2016, I think. I don't remember. But this is a project that was funded by Samsung. And when I first saw it, I thought it was interesting, and I was hoping they would turn the prototype into an actual product for consumers, and they're doing exactly that. So it's currently I'd like to say Kickstarter. It's being offered, and since they're backed by Samsung, they have you can be sure that it will actually make it to production.
Hmm.
So yeah, so LinkFlow Fit 360 also provides a first-person perspective, just like the Orbi Prime. Hmm.
What was your take on Orbi Prime? I mean, you've used a lot of professional grade 360s. Is this
Yes.
was it?
Well, I would say the quality is like a little less than what you might expect from other 4K cameras, such as even let's say you know, Samsung Gear 360. I think it's even less than that. But because it's such a unique perspective and because it's hands-free, I think I would use it for, there are some situations where, I don't need absolute, highest quality video. I just want to, get a simple video and
Hmm.
just enjoy whatever I'm doing instead of thinking about, shooting. So
Four
that
lenses. Was it 4K?
each lens is full HD, and then it combines them into 4K video. And they sent me a sample 360 video because when I first saw the design, I thought, how can this work? Because there's such a big gap between the
Yeah,
lenses. I mean,
yeah.
really, you can stitch that?
Yeah, I would say there
But
were lenses here on the glasses and then kind of
that's
on the
right,
back of the temple on each
exactly.
side. Yeah.
That's right. So when I first saw it, I wasn't even sure if it would even work. But they had some guests try it out. I tried it out myself, and more importantly, they sent me the actual sample. And because it was at CES, it was an actual. It wasn't like some, just bunch of cameras that they stuck together and to make it look like it's this. This is the actual product. This is a video from the actual product. And yeah, it kind of works. I mean, stitch line is stitching is not perfect, but like I said, it is not for something where image quality is a priority. It's more for just let's say just enjoying the activity, just getting a first person perspective, that kind of thing.
Hmm. So I would say Tamago. They were
Yeah,
listed.
yeah.
Were they there?
Yes, Tamago. So Tamago is a hemispherical camera, and we saw it. I don't know, several months ago. I don't know exactly when. At that time, when I saw it, I was like, "Wow, this is kind of expensive." I think it's like, I'd like to say $400 or something like that for a hemispherical camera. That's kind of expensive. And I thought 20 hemispherical cameras. This is like from 2016. I mean, 2017, what are you doing with a hemispherical camera? But what they showed me at CES was that they were using the Tamago for like using the 360 capability or hemispherical 360 capability for stabilization. So they want this not so much as an alternative to a 360 camera, but as an alternative to GoPro Heroes or some or other action cameras. And it works. Or at least it seems like it was working. You hold it horizontally with the lens facing forward, and the stabilization is really good because it has a much wider field of view to move around
Hmm. But
within which to
this was
move around.
a camera or concept, I want to say, that was first announced, is it like 5 years ago, 7 years ago? A long time ago.
Oh, I don't know.
A long
I
time
don't know
ago.
how when it was. Yeah, it might
So
that you might be right.
I'm kind of
But
wondering if that form factor, when you take a look at the form factor of the Insta360 One or the Rilo,
mhm,
which are sound like they're much small, excuse me, smaller and come with stabilization built in, that
yes,
you don't really need something big for stabilization. You just need the stabilization kind of built in. Yeah.
you're right. Like I mean, if you think about it, the Insta 360 one is like $300. This one is more than $300. I think it's like $400 or 350 or something like that, and it's hemispherical. So
Yeah.
I don't see the
Tell you what,
value proposition,
let's
but
move on. We haven't
yeah.
we haven't talked about the kind of the gorilla in the space of 360s, Rico.
Yeah.
So
Yes,
you went to visit. What was your
yes, I
impression?
did.
They had presumably the Rico SC entry level,
Yeah,
the Rico Theta S, and now the Rico Theta
Theta
5.
V. It's
Uh,
actually Theta V. It's the you're it's a model, but they call it Theta V.
they call it
Uh,
V. Okay.
yeah, yeah. So Theta V, they didn't have anything super new for it. The Theta V came out several months ago. But I guess what's new about from Rico Theta is that they're trying to improve their usability. So, for example, we know that the Theta V takes 4K videos, So they recently added in-camera stitching for 4K videos. So that means like if you're in a hurry, you don't want to have to stitch the videos, you can make it, you can do it so that the camera will stitch the videos, so and you don't have to do anything.
Is that just for the V or the S as well?
Just the V, just the
Just the
V.
V. Okay.
And the other important thing is that they've launched this kind of like a marketplace for apps for the Theta V, because the Theta V is based on Android, and so they're making it easy for developers to create software, special apps for the Theta V. If we'll see in a few months what people do with it, but there are so many possibilities, like real estate applications. I
Yeah.
can see that happening.
Yeah, I guess my impression is probably the enabling third-party developers to create apps for the Rico Theta V
Right.
is probably the most exciting announcement. Um,
Yes.
uh, we've been talking about a lot of cameras. I want to come back just for a moment on the Insta360 one. Um,
Sure.
I know I've learned a lot from just watching, your in-depth video on the
Thank you.
Insta360 one, and then the in-depth comparison that you did with the Rilo and the Insta360 one. So
Mm-hmm.
incidentally, you all, if you're just tuning in, this is a fascinating show. WGAN TV live at 5. We've been talking now for a little over an hour with 360rumors.com founder Mick Tai. Mick, I want to say, owns nearly 50 360 cameras or heads or whatever you want to call these various things. He writes the ultimate blog on all things 360, 360rumors.com, almost 2,000 posts, literally hundreds of videos, and they're well, not only like you do these reviews, you do these post production to put all the words on top to help the viewer get through it. So thank you.
Thanks.
So I
Thank
actually
you.
had some questions because I'm trying to understand
Sure.
like, because I always get this question. Okay, I got $500 to spend. Which camera's right for me? And
Yeah.
I first always want to ask people, but I'm kind of torn. I would say right now between the Ricoh Theta S, which I own, the
Mm-hmm.
Ricoh Theta V that members
Mm-hmm.
in the community have had some issues with, and I'll tell you about those, and then
Sure.
the Insta360
One.
one.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but I've if I'm using the Ricoh Theta S, the
Mm-hmm.
HDR is phenomenal.
Exactly. That's the key strength, I think.
But has the Insta360 announced a firmware upgrade that does HDR?
So the answer is not yet. And I
Mm,
think it's kind of strange because early on, I sort of remember they did mention it, but the final one didn't have it. So I don't know if it's something that they're working on or why they didn't decided not to do it, even though the Insta360 Nano, but it's an older camera, has HDR. The Insta360 Pro has HDR. The one doesn't. But I could ask them about that some more. But
I feel like
mhm,
that's like, if I was trying to make a recommendation to someone, what's holding me back on the Insta360 for real estate is HDR. If I shoot a hotel room and do a
mhm,
test and I shoot it
mhm,
with the Ricoh Theta and on HDR, I'm going to get a great image. It's got a little mini, the footprint for the tripod. It's all gone.
yes,
But
yes,
personally, I don't really like the workflow because of having to process and transfer. But I'll
mm,
accept that in order to get the best images. On the other hand, the Insta360 I kind of like, well, okay, wow, I can preview I think you would say you got three ways to shoot. And one of them is that you could just put the little teeny camera on top of a tripod and have
uh-huh,
barely any footprint below it, and then
uh-huh,
pair with your I guess Bluetooth, and you could kind of get the exposure in the right spot. But
mhm.
side by side, I would say for a real estate photographer, the image quality on the HDR Ricoh Theta is always going to seem to beat the Insta360 and I'm just waiting
For
for them to
dynamic
say,
range, yes.
say, good news, we're doing a firmware upgrade?
Well, the cool thing is it's always possible to do a manual HDR. With the Insta361, you can just, you can use exposure compensation or change the shutter speed yourself. And that way, be able to do a series of exposures and blend them in yourself. So that's always
But
my
that's not
favorite thing.
me. I want this to be, super
I
easy
got
and
it.
super fast without
Yes,
without the post
that's right.
production.
It's right.
Otherwise, it's like, no, I'll
Time is money. Yes,
yeah.
got it.
So I think my other kind of question was,
Mm-hmm.
I took the Insta361, I put it on my monopole, and I went for a walk with my wife and some friends. Again, family tolerating me wanting to go. Oh, I'm going to go take a Google Street View of the
Uh-huh.
Atlanta Beltline, and we're going to walk
Uh-huh.
for, I don't know, hour and a half or something, whatever.
Yes.
And of course, I didn't test anything ahead of time. So when I got back, I'm getting ready to do something with it, and it says no geo data associated. So
Mm.
help me
Okay.
understand this, because I want to say
Okay.
I didn't attach it to my phone, which
Yes.
would have
That's
captured
the
the
thing.
data. Um,
Yes. So with the
shouldn't that be
Insta.
built into it, to the Insta361, that it has the
Mhm.
geolocation as part of what that camera comes with? What am I missing?
Yeah, I don't know why they didn't include a GPS sensor inside. I think it might be because of just to save battery, maybe.
Mm.
Even the Insta360 Pro doesn't have a GPS unit. You have to like get some separate accessory for it. So for whatever reason, they've decided not to incorporate GPS sensor. But like you said, if you do want to record the geospatial data, you just connect it to a phone and get the adapter for the phone and use it that way.
But I'd have to be
It's a,
physically attached. Yeah.
yes, yes, it
It-
has
uh,
to be
I,
physically connected.
I can't Bluetooth to the to.
No, not as far as I know.
Okay,
Yeah, I
I
could
know
be
that
wrong.
at least one of our viewers will probably be to say something like, um, uh, oh, but you can capture the geolocation in your smartphone, and you can just somehow mash the two things together. That's not me. I just wanted to be able to walk, for an hour and a
Uh-huh.
half and upload
Uh-huh.
it to Google, and
Mm-hmm.
call it a day. So
Yes.
the fact that those images that are not geolocated, would Google still be able to recognize the images and do something with it?
You can manually connect them, but I think you're gonna say next that that's not me. So
Yeah,
uh
that's not me. I tell you what, let's bring one of your fan club members into
okay.
our studio here to visit with you.
Okay.
This is Scott Anderson. I'm
Uh,
probably
hey
surprising
Scott.
him, putting him on
Hello.
TV here.
Hello.
Scott Anderson with Cupix, Cupix, and we've in fact we've done a 2 hour discussion, I think, with Cupix with Scott on Cupix
Mm-hmm.
for newbies. And while we've
Yes.
been talking, Mick, Scott has been writing me like this, like ginormous. Scott, just ask your questions directly. What do you
Oh
want to
yeah.
ask Mick?
Well, can
Sure.
you guys? Hey Mick, how's it going? Hey Dan, how are you guys?
Hey Scott, how's it
Audio's
going?
okay?
Yeah,
Uh,
we're doing good. Thanks, man. Good to see
great. Yeah, really good to see you too.
you.
I just had a couple of quick questions I thought
Sure.
I'm kind of interested in, and probably the audience might be interested in. So I just shot a couple of questions over. Nothing big though.
Uh-huh.
I actually forgot where they were. So
I got him. I'll
Okay.
ask your question. I'll read your question, but then you
okay.
can ask.
Okay.
Let's see. Can Mick explain the stabilization difference between cameras, and how it works, and which cameras, and does it only come into play with video, or
Okay.
can it also impact photos? So
Yes.
you're like the man, the person, when it comes to stabilization. So we're photo versus
Okay.
video and
All right.
stabilization, and
Okay.
which cameras are you super excited about?
Okay. So stabilization, just to back up, stabilization important for photos and videos, but for 360, it's absolutely critical because when a photo or video in 360 is not stabilized, then when you're looking around or turning the screen or you're looking at a VR headset, it's going to look very confusing. You look left, but suddenly it's going to rotate to the right. It's disorienting. So stabilization, there are several ways to do it. The past year in 2017, we started seeing cameras with built-in image stabilization. And this is how it works. So with a regular camera, let's say you have like an iPhone or GoPro or anything like that. There's the screen is like this, this big, let's say, and then they'll instead of showing the whole thing, they'll crop it. They'll show you only the middle part. So that way, if you're moving, that you move up, it will move offset it electronically. You move this way, that way, it will seem stable. There's several disadvantages to that. Number one is it's cropped. So the image quality of the stabilized video from EIS is not as good as the one that's with a full sensor. There are some cameras, especially DSLRs, that have optical image stabilization, either the lens or the sensor. But for smaller phones, it's less common. There are some that have OIS, but the other bigger issue is it can only offset a limited amount of movement. You go this way, go really far, it's not going to be able to compensate for it. So where 360 stabilization is different is that instead of having just this, pad behind me, you have a whole sphere to work with. So they can rotate the sphere as much as necessary to offset almost any kind of, any degree of movement, as long as it's, within just pan, tilt, or pan, pitch, or
Roll.
no, the roll. That's right. Sorry. Yeah. So the 360 stabilization is not only more effective, but it's also lossless in the sense that you're not cropping anything. So that's kind of like why 360 cameras that have stabilization have better stabilization than non-360 cameras. Now it works both, not just for photos, but also for videos. So for videos, it's kind of self-evident. Now for photos, where it works is if you take a camera, let's pretend this is a 360 camera. If you hold horizontally, it won't matter. It will be as if you've held it vertically. So that's where stabilization helps, even for photos. And one question was like, which one is the best one for stabilization? And I would say,
So Mick, can I ask a question on that? So on the photos, with like a Nikon or pretty much any camera that you get nowadays, DSLR you get nowadays, there's some motion in the lens, and that prevents the lens from, it stabilizes the light that's hitting the sensor. So are we seeing that with any of the 360 cameras, that actual motion, or are we just tracking the gyro of the data system?
Right now it's all gyro based. I have not seen any 360 cameras that have sensor based stabilization or lens based optical image stabilization.
Okay, yeah. So
but arguably, there's almost no need for it, because if you look at cameras like the Rilo, I mean, the stabilization that is just crazy good. I mean, they put it on a dog, and the dog was like running around, and it looked like it was totally level. So when you have that level of stabilization, and that's also lossless, then you wonder like how much money do you want to invest in developing sensor technology, lens technology that's optical stabilization that there's arguably it'll be hard to justify from the manufacturer's point of view.
Scott, you'd sent some notes. Let me see if I can read you have 3 more questions that you had emailed here. Scott writes, Mick, what is your favorite camera for HDR from a camera right out of the box? And what's your favorite workflow for getting HDR photos from 360?
Okay, so let's answer the first question.
For
Best
your
camera for yeah. Oh, I'm sorry. Go
your
ahead.
favorite camera for HDR right out of the box.
If you're not considering the cost at all, among the cameras that I have, the one I like best for HDR is Insta360 Pro. Just because it's very nice quality. It's 8K, 7680 by 3840 or 7680 by 7680 3D, and it's HDR. It blends it for you, and it can give you the separate exposures. If you want to get them separately and then blend them in yourself, you can do that. And it does it all automatically.
And your favorite workflow for getting HDR photos from 360?
Well, if you mean like just like blending it yourself, I guess.
Scott?
Photo.
Yeah. Just well, I guess a good question would be under over 1,000, under 1,000. So over 1,000, the Insta Pro 360 is the pick. But say you're under $1,000, what would be your
under 1,000? I would say would be the Ricoh Theta.
Theta V.
Yeah. Any of the Thetas, when they have the built-in HDR, just one click stitches it for you in a few seconds. I mean, you can beat that for ease of use.
Just to follow up on that Ricoh Theta V, because one of the concerns we've heard in the We Get Around Network forum from many members who've bought it and some of which have returned it was they need to stay outside of they're taking real estate pictures indoors. They want to go around the corner so they're not in the shot, and that the Bluetooth just drops out and they can't do the shot.
Okay, so
they're starting out having a Ricoh Theta S where they're used to being able to go quite a distance and being able to fire off that shot.
Okay, so I have great news for you guys. It's not Insta360, but Ricoh rather just sent out an update to the Theta V that allows it to link in a second way. It's called wireless LAN mode. And what that means is your Theta V can connect to your home network, your home Wi-Fi network, or your office, or whatever the location is. Connect to that network, and your phone connects to that same network, and your phone is able to control the Theta V. So the range is not limited by Bluetooth. It's not limited by the Wi-Fi range of the Theta. Rather, it's limited by the network range of whatever network your location is at. So
well,
it's much more powerful.
They must be reading the We Get Around Network forum to see those comments over and over again, and that they've been getting some returns on that. Because otherwise, it sounds like well, actually, I think in some of your videos, you've actually compared the I want to say the dynamic range of the Ricoh Theta V versus the Ricoh Theta S, and
you can see in the the comparison tool. I shot the Theta V in or I think I shot it in all the modes: the normal mode, noise reduction mode, highlight protection mode, and the HDR mode. And where they differ is the noise reduction mode has less noise in the shadows. The other one, I forgot what it's called, highlight something. It's for the highlights, and HDR is both. So that's how they differ. So, but the other trick is if you don't have a wireless network that you can connect to, that's fine. Just take 2 shots. You take 1 shot with a Theta V, move a few steps to another direction, take another shot with it. Then in post, you just use layer masking to mask yourself out.
Yeah. Okay. Yes. And this is one of the techniques that you teach in one of the videos, which is also for video. I want to say as well. but that's not me. And it used to be me before I bought my Matterport camera. I had my fisheye lens and a nodal, and I rotated the camera
Okay.
and I stitched and
Mhm.
I did what you described. No, we got to get out of that. We just want to be able to run around the corner and take the picture. We just don't have the, for our community. I mean, especially
Uh-huh.
if you're taking real estate agent, pictures, the budget's not a lot. So you got to be
Sure.
in and out, and your
Yeah.
workflow's got to be super simple. And
Yeah.
we just can't stand 3 feet from the camera and move it and take another picture and then have
Oh no, we're
a
not moving the
pose.
camera. We put the camera on a tripod.
Yeah, even if I
Yeah.
right, keep it on this,
Okay.
and then even if I move over here, right? If
Yeah.
I just walk 3 feet over,
Good.
take a second shot, and then mask it out, I understand that, but I think
Uh,
our
Not enough
community
time for
really
that.
wants to
Okay.
be able to say, I take a picture and I either upload it to Google Street View or I upload it to a platform like 360 Tours or Round Me or dozens of other
Uh-huh.
platforms without having to go through post. We want to know the image is good.
Okay.
Scott, before we come back to your two questions, uh, um, Antoine, if I'm pronouncing that correctly,
Yeah, that's good. Yeah, Antoine.
Antoine.
Hi, Antoine.
So,
Hi.
Antoine, you had some questions for Mick.
Sure.
Well, I've just started looking into this. I don't have a 360 camera. I'm just looking into that now, and I've watched some of your videos, and they're really good. But
Thank you.
one of the ones I've looked at is this Mad Venture
Yeah.
by, I think it's Xiaomi or
Yeah.
uh,
So
same one that makes the Mi-
I'm sorry, what?
it's the same company that makes the Mi Sphere, I guess,
Correct.
that makes this Mad Venture, but it's not really, I can't find a way to get it in Canada if I wanted to get that one. I don't know if you,
Yeah, I'm not sure. It's on Amazon. I don't know if it's available on Amazon.ca, but Xiaomi is an amazing camera for Xiaomi or Mad Venture, either one. They're
yeah.
both excellent cameras for real estate photography.
Forgive me, Mick. Is this a
Yes.
Chinese lessons that we're getting now? Could you? I know you're
Okay,
saying
let
Sha,
me
but spell that for
Xiao.
me. Sha.
Okay, so okay,
Is
let
this
me
like
start it.
XIOMI or something?
So the name is Xiaomi. Xiaomi. Yeah, it's kind of like tricky to pronounce and tricky to spell. But the name is Mi Sphere. Xiaomi is the brand. Mi Sphere is the model. MI and then Sphere. So because of that difficulty in pronouncing the name of the camera, that's why they made this other camera, which is identical, but it's just called Mad Venture. A little
Ah,
bit easier to remember, a little bit easier to spell. But they're both identical sensors, identical lenses, identical everything, except one's orange and has a different name.
ah,
So yes,
ah.
yes. So
Okay.
this is a fantastic camera for real estate.
And is this from China?
Yes,
XIOMI
I yes,
Sha is how to pronounce that. Okay.
Xiao,
This is
Xiaomi.
Xiaomi.
Yes,
Okay.
yeah, you said it perfectly.
All right. I'm
Xiaomi.
going to get the
Yeah.
Mad Adventure, I think, because I can actually
Yeah,
pronounce that.
yeah. Just to
Um,
clarify, the other one is Mad Venture
yeah,
360. Yeah. So they're both the same camera, and this is one of those cameras that I highly recommend for real estate, because the image quality is very good. To me, it looks better than the Theta. The dynamic range,
hmm.
the resolution, the sharpness, edge touch. Because the Theta, it starts to become a little softer towards the tip line.
Yeah.
This is not like that. This is sharp edge to edge. No matter where you look, it is sharp.
Okay. So this is the
Mm-hmm.
Xiaomi Sphere
Xiaomi. Yes.
and the Mad Adventure 360. Thank you for sending me those notes. Antoine,
Yes.
did you have a follow up on that?
yeah, I did look on Amazon.com. It is there. It seems like a pretty good price at $310, I think, but it doesn't ship to Canada. It says explicitly. So I'm just sort of waiting on it, I guess.
Okay.
But
Find a friend.
well,
Yeah.
Yeah, Antoine, if you go to this other site called GearBest, let me type it, Gear.
Okay.
Yeah, I think
They,
there again it was the same issue.
there's a,
Canada right now.
GEARBEST,
Yeah.
gearbest.com. Okay, you'll
yeah.
you'll find it, or you'll make friends in the We Get Around Network forum. Somebody in the
Yeah.
United States will help you out. Scott, back to your the two other questions that you had written some notes to me. Uh,
Yeah.
Again, this is from Scott. Mick, your opinion on 360 photos created with composite photos, such as the GoPro on a rig or DSLR on a rig or iPhone with the rotator.
I think they're excellent. They have the potential for excellent image quality. That's the main benefit. The disadvantage, of course, is that the workflow is much more tedious. But if your client wants a super high res image, then this is the right way to do it. Either with mirrorless. I'm sorry, not mirrorless, but an interdigital lens camera mirrorless for the DSLR and a panoramic head. And for people who want something like a compromise between that and the ease of a 360 camera, there are also panoramic heads for the GoPro, and they can result in very high quality images, 65 megapixels, raw if you want it, and with beautiful image quality, excellent dynamic range, and so on and so forth. And they're pretty affordable. The panoramic heads for GoPro are like, some of them are sold $40. The highest one's like 85, still very cheap. You just pair that with a GoPro, and yeah, you're in business.
And an iPhone with a rotator. And I think I've seen
Yeah.
you do one of your shows on this.
So there's one called the VR kit. There's another one I think. Yeah, that's the one, the VR kit. You got it. Okay,
Yeah, they
so
probably sent you a box of these before they sent me a box of these. I just got this from the.
I asked for them to send one. They took so long to respond. I just bought it.
Oh, okay.
So,
Well,
but
they sent me a box. Scott, do you have one of these? The VR kit to rotate on a phone.
Yeah, we've got one of those. We don't have the GoPro rig quite yet, but everything else we got. Yeah, we've got some pretty good results out of that. A little bit of stitching errors, but it looks pretty promising. And for the audience here that's really interested in the HDR with a great image resolution, that are pixel pickers, and like to walk behind a device like you've been stating, Dan. That's a pretty similar type of workflow to a Matterport camera.
Mm-hmm. Well, they just sent me a box of them, and I just literally opened it last night.
Cool.
So I'll take a look at that. And but
yeah,
Mick, you've been using this. I think, like you said, you just went and bought it off of Amazon, I guess, last
yeah,
year,
yeah,
2017, last quarter.
yeah.
What's been your impression so far?
The good thing about it is nominally it will take 32 megapixel photos. But the thing that uses and I don't know if you before, if you use those, the quality is not superb. So although it's 32 megapixels, it's really the actual detail that you get is less than that. On the other hand, because it's using a smartphone, and smartphones are just gonna keep getting better and better and better, you can expect that the quality of your images will grow, will keep improving as you update or upgrade your phone.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the good thing about it. And the other, of course, is it's very inexpensive.
Mm-hmm. So,
Yeah,
yeah, I forget what this was. It's like under $100, I think, for a fisheye lens and a rotator for your iPhone.
yeah, it's
Produces
like
a
I think
32 meg.
80 or $90. Yeah,
Yeah, it's not a lot. And
yeah.
Scott also had sent me a note, Mick, some basics
Mm-hmm.
on parallax and the effect in residential photography.
Okay, so parallax is the difference. If you're using panoramic head, let's say, and you turn the camera one way and then you turn another way, The difference between this view and that view is there's going to be like a slight difference in that point of view. Kind of like, let's say, when you look with your eyes, your left eye sees something, your right eye sees something slightly different. That's parallax. And where it's relevant for photography, 360 photography, is that if you use just a normal tripod, just get a camera, just turn it around like that, there will be a difference between the perspectives which camera shows, and so they won't stitch together perfectly. So to avoid that, you need a panoramic head, such as a Nodal Ninja that's very popular.
Yeah,
For doing
I
laptops.
think of this as like black and white photography and in digital. So, I think, those days of stitching, there'll always be the 2% on the planet
Okay.
that would say, I want to
Okay.
shoot with film, which is
Sure.
I want to use a DSLR camera and rotate it around and I'm going to get the
Uh-huh.
perfect shot. But
Yes.
truly, I think for the We Get Around Network Forum community, the majority of us are going to be super happy with a 360 camera, which I think
Exactly. Yeah.
I'll ask my final question, and then we'll check with Scott and Anton to see if they have a final question, and then if you have
Well,
anything.
on the parallax, the Insta 360 Pro, for example, that's going to have some impact on residential photography. If you're in a beautifully ornate hallway that's a little bit narrow, then you might run into
Yeah.
some issues with that.
That's
And
true.
actually, no question for Dan and Matterport is that does the Matterport suffer from any parallax as well?
Yeah,
So
absolutely.
I guess
Yes.
there's a comment on
Yes.
that to just get that discussion going, and because that's kind of relevant to.
I would say on the parallax issue, which I think of just bad stitching, is anytime you're within 3 or 4 feet using a Matterport camera, that you're at risk of the images not stitching properly. So I would say, well, get the camera away from the wall. But the reality is, you go down some tight hallways, or whatever it is, and it is what it is. And about the only thing you can do, and this is kind of relying on the old school of rotating the camera, is to say, make sure that the camera rotates so when it faces the wall, it's flat. So it takes the picture flat, not that it's taking it on a 45-degree angle and another 45-degree angle against the wall. So there's some tricks that we can do. But it is what it is. If you want Matterport, you're going to have trouble with walls that are all white and are silver and reflective and mirrors and stuff. And if you're shooting with a Ricoh Theta, I'm gonna say, oh, okay, you got 2 lenses. We'll go down the hall, like this, so that the longest distance is way down the hall, and the closest difference is if the camera's got to be a foot from something, that the lens is flat with this. I mean, I think Mick would agree with that. But
Yeah,
this
I
this
totally
whole
agree.
thing of like parallax, Scott, it's gonna. I just say, unless you're shooting for Time magazine cover and it absolutely has to be beautiful, I think, and this kind of leads
Yeah.
really to my last question, is
Yes.
for any of our We Get Around Network Forum members who've now listened for almost an hour and 40 minutes as we've been hearing you, Mick, talk about what you saw at 2018 Consumer Electronics Show, CES, in Las Vegas in January, is I'm totally confused. I got $500. I shoot real estate. I kind of hear about this Insta360. I'm hearing about the Rilo. I'm hearing about 3 different versions of Ricoh. I'm a real estate photographer. I don't really care about the video. That sounds interesting. I don't really care about the stabilization. Um, which camera should I get? So, Mick,
Okay.
have I told you enough about the persona for you to
Yeah.
pick one of the cameras?
Okay. So two choices, or 3, I would say. Number one, if you're willing to do a little bit of stitching work, then the GoPro panoramic head. Okay, just you get 65 megapixels, fantastic quality, like for around $500, including the stitching software. Now, assuming that's not an option, then the next option I would say is the Xiaomi Mi Sphere, or the Mad Venture. Both the same camera. what I like about them, full manual controls, super sharp, excellent quality, excellent, like the image quality is amazing. Now, but you do have to stitch it in the app or stitch it in the software. And by the way, the software is only for PC. They don't have a Mac version. So that leads me to my next choice, which is if you
And
want
I'm going to,
something.
excuse me, I'm going to put a big X through number 2 because for us, our community, I'm not
Yes,
saying the rest of the world, but
yes.
for our community that's primarily doing residential, commercial real estate, if you tell me I got to do post production, and if you tell me that many of us are Mac, you know,
There's no Mac
it's
deal
not working
killer.
for me. Okay, so
Okay, which
we
is
got your first
the
choice being the
yes.
GoPro.
Panoramic kit. There's several. There's Pano Hero H5B. There's Pano 5+1. There's that Hero
Okay.
H5B. Pano 5+1. And there's one called I Go
Okay.
720
So Mick sending me some notes because we are obviously having some trouble with the audio today. Pano Hero H5B as in boy, Pano 5+1, and the iGo 720 VR. And then your third recommendation, I'm a real
would be
estate
the Theta.
photographer. I got $500
Yes,
to spend. Do I get the Theta V, or the Theta S?
I actually would go with the SC or S. If you know you're going to use it for photography, I don't see the reason to get a Theta V. The one advantage of the Theta V, I guess, is for photography is that if you're going to go on Google Street View, you can use the video, and Google will accept frame grabs from the video. So if you're going to like drive through like a street and take a lot of photos, it can do that automatically for you. But unless you're going to
So,
do that, the
so
SE or
if I
doesn't
understand
go.
what you Mick, if I understand what you just said on the Ricoh Theta V, which is
Yes,
presently the only 360 camera that is supported by Google Street View for video. So
video.
so that you could be putting your camera up through the sunroof or
Yes,
suction cup onto your roof and
sure.
then just
Yeah.
take off shooting video, and then somehow Google will take that video and figure out
Mm-hmm.
X frame to take out and create Google Street View, which seems like
And
a
link them. Yeah, yeah, link them
plus.
for you.
So, so my takeaway from visiting with you is it's still confusing because you have choices. Each of these cameras has something that's special about it. So
Yeah. So
so
it depends on
it's
what.
actually hard.
So it depends on whether your priority is ease of use. That should be Theta, and I would suggest Theta S or SC unless you really need a Theta V video capture thing. Then go splurge for that. Now, if you want better image quality but not so much work, that would be the Xiaomi. And if you want to get even better quality and for a little more extra work, that would be the GoPro panoramic heads, like one of those, the Pano Hero H5B8, Pano 5+1. They're all identical in image quality.
Okay.
It's just, they will take more time. You do need to stitch them manually. So that would be for clients who are, they are willing to spend more for high resolution photo. Then that's what that's for.
Okay. So thank you, Anton. Do you have any final question?
Yeah, just I was looking into the Rilo a bit because I heard it was
Yeah,
really good for stabilization,
yeah,
and but I saw today on a Amazon Q&A that from the manufacturer that they do the stabilization using the software app, that it's not actually built into the camera. Now, is that pretty unique, or is that maybe the direction things could go? And like something like the Mad Venture, is it got good stabilization? And if not, could it just maybe get it with a software upgrade?
So the answer is yes. Yes to both. Yes to all of them. Yes, software can stabilize a 360 video. And I don't know if the Rilo is purely software based. I don't believe that's exactly accurate. I could be wrong.
Yeah.
So I think there is a gyro in there, but there are software you can buy. CyberLink Power Director 16 Ultra.
Yeah, that's what I'm using. That's what I started.
Yeah, it can apply stabilization to 360 video that doesn't have stabilization, and it will do a decent job. Not as good as, let's say, Rilo, but
Right.
it's better than like not having it.
Hmm.
Xiaomi, Mi Sphere, or Mad Venture, the stabilization is okay. Last year it was the best. This year, not anymore. It's like B, and then Rilo would be A level of stabilization, and then
Okay.
there are cameras in between. One of those cameras is the Insta61, which has slightly better stabilization, and the the important thing is this: this month in February, we're going to see a major update to the Insta361 that will bring its level of stabilization much higher. How high, I don't know, but the president of Insta360 showed me this video where they did the exact same thing that they did to a rhino. They put the camera on a dog that was running around in a park, and it looked level, totally level, which makes me think that Insta361 has figured out how to improve the software so much that it's actually going to be like Rhino. But until I see it, I don't know. I've asked them to send me the beta. They don't want to do it. So, but
Yeah.
it'll be it's expected this probably before February 15.
Terrific. I'm looking forward to that. Scott, did you have a final question for Mick?
Yeah.
No, not right now. I'd like to hear thanks for having me
Yeah.
on as a panelist, answering some of the
Yeah.
questions I had.
Yeah, terrific. Thank you, Scott. Scott with the Cupix platform.
Yeah.
So Mick, is there anything that we didn't cover today? You're just dying to tell us. We missed the camera. We missed the.
Yeah, I think we're doing we've covered pretty much everything I saw at CES. I guess the main takeaway is that CES shows me that 360 is going to be even bigger going forward, and that there's a lot of hope for it, and the future is bright for 360, and we should see even more um, uh, applications that make it easier for consumers to use it. And with greater awareness among consumers, I believe there will be greater demand for real estate photographers. They'll be educated and find out like, oh, this is a cool thing. Now, when I see a house, I want to see a 360 photo from a Matterport, not just a regular uh, flat photo. They want to see a so that's where I think there could be growth in this industry.
Well, I hope you come back on
Thank you.
WGAN-TV live at 5. I think what you just brought up is an entire show itself, which is probably the threat or an opportunity. Now that there are about, let's call it,
Yeah.
80 360 one-click camera solutions. Let's call it, even if there's 40. And they all seem to have different feature sets, but I think one thing that just seems to be true: prices are coming down, quality's getting better. That we're going to see more and more people shooting 360. And I'd love to have you back to talk about whether that is a threat or an opportunity to those of us that make a living shooting with one of these cameras that or Matterport for that matter. So
Yeah.
I won't put you on the spot,
Yeah,
but I want to say
love to talk about that.
terrific. So
Yeah.
Mick, thank you so much for being on the program today.
Thank you so much, Dan. I really appreciate this opportunity, and thank you so much. Yeah.
Well, I'm just you're the rock star of 360.
Yeah,
360rumors.com founder. Mick Ty, rock star of the 360 photo video space, and it's just so thrilling to visit with you today.
Thanks, Dan.
We're for all of you that have been watching. We've been recording today's program. We will publish it in the We Get Around Network forum by tomorrow, Friday. So if you felt like you missed some portion or something you want to go back and hear, definitely check out 360rumors.com, 360 RUMORS.com. That is Mick's labor of love, which has nearly 2,000 articles, and many of them really in depth, and that amazing comparison tool. Look at the top menu. You'll see that you can compare the camera of your choice to another camera of your choice of photos and videos. I think that's a gift that you've given all of us. So thank you. And I think, I think third is Mick's videos are just amazing. If you go to YouTube, and type in 360rumors.com. Is there an easier way to get to your YouTube channel?
I think it's youtube.com/360rumors.com, and unfortunately, when I was choosing the short name, YouTube forced me to add com at the end, so it's kind of why did they do that?
It's a little bit crazy. So go to the YouTube channel and type in 360rumors, all one word, .com, and you will see pages and pages of videos, and every one of them is a work of art that by Mick, who is just dedicated to helping us all understand. Excuse me. I think Mick is helping all of us just understand the pluses and minuses, and then to be able to compare cameras. So if you're right at the midst of just trying to decide, which camera is right for me, there's a video by Mick that shows and tells about that camera. So very exciting to have the rock star of 360 on our show today. So again, thank you, Mick.
Thank you so much. Thanks, Dan. I really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thanks to your members.
Thank you. So thank you for tuning in. I'm Dan Smigrod, founder of the We Get Around Network Forum, and you've been watching WGAN-TV live at 5. And so we're still live on YouTube, and we'll say bye. I know I've had you for 2 hours, and I'm sure your daughter is looking for daddy. So thanks, Mick. We'll visit by email. Okay.
Right,
thank you. Bye-bye.